Morning, Coal City. Thanks for joining us on the small spotlight this Friday morning. The Thank Goodness It's Friday edition of our breakfast show live on ETV channel 50. And I bet you are following us on all our social media handles on X, formerly known as Twitter at Enugu ESBS, one word, Instagram Enugu ESBS, Facebook ESBS Enugu, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBS Enugu 042, all of which are one word. Now, our focus today on the spotlight is the rural poverty in Enugu State, characteristics, dimensions, and trends. And I have someone who is coming from the rural area. I don't know if I will stay called Ugwaji community that now, but he lives there. And even if it's not a rural area, I would think of it as a semi-urban area. Igwe-elect Chinedu Nwobodo. Good morning. Welcome from Ugwaji Ancient Kingdom.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, Ifai. Our viewers, good morning. Welcome to the program.
All right, I said we're talking about rural poverty in Enugu State. It is common knowledge that countries of the third world are neck deep in poverty. I know that poverty, hunger, is a global issue. But the depth of poverty in rural area is intense, so to say. And so we're addressing this. We're looking at it wholesome. First of all, I'll ask you, Igwe-elect, is Ugwaji a rural community?
Well, Ugwaji can be seen presently as semi-urban. We are becoming fast at that matter, cosmopolitan. That is the way I look at Ugwaji. It can't really be termed urban now because we have characteristics of urban area and a reasonable number of what makes a place urban are still lacking. But Ugwaji is becoming urban. But that does not mean, I did a recent study and I used the extreme rural local government of Enugu State to do that study. Okay. I have a seminar paper just has been approved that I will present. In the course of doing that study, though on a different topic, I was looking at...
Academic study, right?
Yeah, academic study. And I thank God I did it when I have left service. I had all the time to move around the Kano East local government area and some areas in Kano West. I found rural poverty there. The characteristics, the dimensions are still found there. So as we talk, well, I thank God for this program, let me say it, and it's about Enugu State, so that our working governor will rather be looking at what we're saying.
Okay.
Eventually, this particular program, I'm not going to be academic about that. I'm going to be realistic, talking at what I saw on ground.
So now that you have conducted a research on this, how can you
not really on this. Look, I studied
something that opened you up.
Yeah, it linked me to rural setting, and I found certain things startling. Because if you look at the present literacy level of Enugu State, we can, online when you Google it, you see that we have about 89.46 literacy level. But is that correct within the rural area? The answer is no. Of a truth, the answer is no. Because when you look at characteristics of rural poverty, we have limited access to markets, we have low level of education, we have low level of skills, we have inadequate, in most instances, greatly inadequate knowledge of health and nutrition. The infrastructure are still lacking, no roads, no electricity. They are not open to information. And any society not open, seriously, critically open to information, because information is power, then there's a problem within that setting. So that is it. And they have low level of employment. Where they have employment, it is called, We have insecure employment, most of them subsistent farming, that they hardly feed themselves. A number of them are not so. When you get there, you see people who pay school fees for their children through the skin of their teeth. So characteristics are there, the dimensions are still there. You have people still deprived, people who are vulnerable to certain conditions. We still have people who have disability, and unfortunately in some areas even disability is seen as a taboo. So these things, they are still there. These characteristics, these dimensions, we still find it in our rural areas.
And from your own view, you see that the characteristics of poverty in the rural areas are quite different from the characteristics of poverty in probably in the cities, in the metropolis.
Yeah, when you look at poverty in the urban area, there's a great difference between urban poverty and rural poverty. When looking at urban city, you already have the electricity there, you already have the pipe-borne water there. People in urban city, they have access to good water, potable water. They have access to good education or facilities or resources for good education. But what do we talk about when we talk of urban poverty? There may be inadequate school for the number of persons within there. There may be what we can say inadequate health facilities. There will be what we call crowding. People are crowded because of the number of persons coming into the urban city. That is as a result of you have overpopulation as a result of people coming to find better life within there. Then within that area, you begin to have environmental hazards, crime, and so on, because of all manner of persons coming into the urban city. When you cannot checkmate those within the urban city, we'll be looking at it as the level of poverty for that urban area. But the basic necessities of life are there. But when you come into the rural environment, you still see that people have low access to food.
Even in the rural environment?
Yes, in the rural environment. Because when you have
farmlands and all?
Yeah, in the recent time, okay, because of what you said, let us look at types of poverty. We have what we call extreme poverty, or what we can call absolute poverty. This absolute poverty, the
poorest of the poor.
The poorest of the poor. They lack food, the basic necessities of life: food, clothing, health, and so on. They are still there. We have what we call the relative poverty. When you begin to compare the living standards between two countries, between two states of one country, or between two regions or more regions of one country, then you have relative poverty. They may not really be poor, but when you compare them with their neighbors, you could say now this place is poor. Then we have the situational poverty, because of what you have just said about with the vast farmland. What is the situational poverty here? We have this what we call the herders farmers clash. We have this situation of kidnapping. A number of persons no longer go to their farm. Of course, what it used to be yesterday is not what it is today. And these things are in the open. That is why I said I don't want to be academic about this, because when you look at probably the armchair research results dished out, are they the real situation on ground? I was following, before I got elected, I was constantly with Energy FM when we were monitoring what was happening in Ehamufu, Mbuji, and so on. That place, where you get there, relatively we can still say they are farmers, but of course when you get there, they're no longer farmers they used to be. This is a situational poverty. And these things have to be checkmated. Enugu State, we are lucky we don't usually have natural disaster like flooding, like landslide or earthquake. Our situational poverty is caused by human beings. These clashes that shouldn't be there. You know, when you get there, what is their social relationship? Do we still have the kind of social relationship we used to have in the past? Because of what is happening now, and everybody is suspect of who is next to him, what is going to happen next time, creating this situational poverty. So with the farmland we have, and government being critical about it, being serious about it, something can be done so that we bring food from that place. But when you get there, too, the situational poverty arising from people desisting from farming, you don't have electricity, you don't have good roads, you don't have good
facilities.
Good, in fact, the facilities we needed. Younger persons who should, because you don't even get, I thank God for this, our governor. The smart school he is trying to establish in many of our rural areas is one of the reasons the relatively elite ruralites, they want to escape from that area. They cannot find good school for their children. But to God be the glory for the governor we have now and the issue of smart school, which is trying to situate in many of the rural areas. Going to school is one important thing. Any average person who understands the importance of education will want to have access to. It's still lacking in many of our rural areas, I tell you. So when I was doing this study on the perception of the rural Nigerians on the role the internet plays in the kind of homogenization we are beginning to have between our culture and the Western culture. In the process of that, I moved around, like I told you when I was starting. I am happy I did this study when I have left service. Yeah. I gave it all my time.
You had the time.
I had the time. When you get there, yes, they are open and they have access to smartphones. But you still see that digital and digitalized television is available to just a few persons, minute number of them. What is helping them are like television viewing centers people use as their business. You know, the private and home ICTs that are proliferating in the urban area. It's not just like that there. It's not just like that there. So the urban poverty, the characteristics of urban poverty, we still can find them seriously in the rural settings of Enugu State.
Okay.
The road. Okay. The other time on 6th April, just this 6th April, I went to Abugo here, our own Abugo here, the next community in Kano West local government here. On 6th April, we went to where they call Ndiegu Najuri. We went there for Ebanko, traditional wedding of one of my friends. The roads there were so bad. I'm telling you, if it were to be in the rainy season, that event wouldn't hold. I tell you.
Because of the state of the road.
Because of the state of the road. And no electricity.
No electricity.
No electricity.
And you can bet, no internet.
No, of course, limited access to network, even to make your phone calls. So in that area, there is a place they call transformer. A provision made for transformer that is not working. If you want to make a call, you have to walk to that transformer area. Then that is where you get what do we call it? Network to be able to make your phone call. You can understand the level of access such people will have to information. And Kano West here, Ndiegu in Abuja. Then when you move beyond that place to places like Pof, Amagunze, there's boundary communities to Ebonyi State. You still can understand what is happening. But of course, the younger generation there, they have access to their smartphones.
Yes.
They have access to it. But it's not just enough having your smartphones.
There are more.
There are more to it.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Chinedu Nwobodo, for your robust contribution on our program today.